Welcome to Azor, the Lawbringer. I hope you're excited. Welcome to the Deck Tech. So, we have Azor, the Lawbringer, bringer of all law. In fact, if you order some law, he's going to bring it to your front door. Doesn't matter. You're injured by a big rig, call Azor, the Banehammer. He'll bring it to you. It's just dumb. All right, so we're looking at two colorless, double white, double blue. Flying, whenever Azor enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. Whenever Azor attacks, you may pay X, white, blue, blue. If you do, you gain X life and you draw X cards. So, Azor is, he's got Sphinx Revelation on stick. Absolutely wonderful. Now, as far as Azor goes, it's been a while since they actually released Azor. He's been on my to-do list for a couple weeks now, or 3 or 4 weeks. I've gone through different builds of him. Like, I wanted to go blue-white flicker. I wanted to go, not blue-white flicker, white-blue flicker. The battlefield creatures, I thought about going flyers, maybe Sphinx Tribal. But the more I just kind of kept sitting on Azor, the more I realized, he's just the perfect blue-white control shell commander. Maybe not perfect, but he's going to lean more towards a blue-white control shell. We've got a 6/6 flyer in the air. By turn 6 or whatever, if you get him down quicker than that, you're looking at 6 converted mana cost. He's going to have an activated ability or a pay ability that's going to allow you to refill your hand, which is exactly what you want to do in a blue-white control shell. That's why Sphinx Revelation is so good. And so the more I kept thinking about Azor, the more I was like, man, we're just going to build a blue-white control shell, and I was really happy that I ended up going with that because he serves a great purpose for the deck and allowing you to kind of close it out. You've got a 6/6 body, so even if you build a little bit of a Voltron kind of package into your Azor deck, once you get into about 7 or 8 range, that's going to be 2 or 3 turns swinging in. That's going to be commander damage right there for you. And especially if you put Sword of Feast and Famine on Azor. Tap out for all that mana, then he deals that combat damage, untap your mana, and you're ready to rock and roll from there. Oh, just nasty. Love it. But let's go and jump into the deck. So, what's going to make a blue-white control shell deck? That's going to start off with some really good counter spells. We've got Cryptic Command, Spell Swindle, Mystic Confluence. With Cryptic Command, most of the time we're going to be using it. Usually, in my experience in Commander, we're going to be using it to tap down our opponent's board state. So it's kind of act as a pseudo board wipe for a turn, and then netting as a card draw. Kind of like a Time Walk style effect. Spell Swindle, you could probably swap this out for a lower converted mana cost spell. The main reason it is in here is because, if we're going to be going for a really good Sphinx Rev, maybe we can catch something on turn 5 with Spell Swindle on the next turn once we get down Azor, we're going to be able to tap out for really good Sphinx Revelation. And then Mystic Confluence is just a really good modal spell for the deck. Now, as far as the lower converted mana cost spells in here, we're running Counterspell. Got to run Classic Counterspell. Disallow, I love the utility of Disallow. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. So let's say your opponent does get down on Planeswalker, they go for an activation targeting Azor or something like that. You can use Disallow to counter that activated ability or triggered ability. So it really kind of keeps you nimble on your feet as far as your game plan with Disallow. And then Remand. I always love Remand. Being able to counter spell and draw a card. That's exactly what blue-white control wants to be doing. And also in the deck, we're running this version of Counterspell. Whenever I see him, I wanted to tell y'all is that this Counterspell, he looks like a wizard who's walking through a dungeon and he stepped on a Lego. That's what I always think of when I see him. So maybe you'll think of that now whenever you see this particular art of Counterspell. That's why I enjoy it so much, because it looks like he stepped on a Lego. All right, on to the next one. What goes good in a blue-white control deck? It's going to be some board wipes. So we're running 3 of them in here. We have Wrath of God, Supreme Verdict, and Fumigate. I'm not going to read them for you. They all serve different purposes. But long story short, we want our opponent to deploy all their creatures out, and then on turn 4, turn 5, blow them up, and then we can get down Azor and start swinging in for some sweet commander damage. Now, once we've countered all of their stuff, once we've blown up all of their stuff, another way that we can try and lock the game down is going to be through Planeswalkers. So we have Jace the Mind Sculptor. We can start brainstorming or fate sealing our opponent. Elspeth, we're going to be able to get those +1, get those counters onto the battlefield, those tokens, which is just going to absolutely take over the game. And then once it gets a little bit hairy, we can use that -3 ability to destroy all the big creatures and still have our soldiers on the battlefield. Tamiyo is a little bit more situational. If you're playing a slower opponent, not them playing slow, but maybe their deck's a little bit slower, they're not as aggressive. Tamiyo is perfectly fine. You can start tapping down one of their big mana rocks, and it's going to cut them back on mana at the same time, slowly start working towards that -8. Out of these 3 Planeswalkers, I'd say Tamiyo is going to be the weakest Planeswalker, but still, Tamiyo, once you get it down, it is a force to be reckoned with, and that's exactly what you want to do with your Planeswalkers. You want it to have a high impact as soon as it hits the battlefield and force your opponent to deal with them. or it'll slowly inch you towards winning the game. Now, outside of the Planeswalkers, you are running a few high-impact creatures in the deck. We've got Monastery, Mentor, and Dawson of Perfection. These are going to be both great spells that allow us to get some extra value off of our cantrips, our counter spells, our card draw spells. Getting those Prowess Monk tokens on the battlefield and kind of pumping them up. Oh, it's a great feeling in the world. And then Dragonlord Ojutai. You get down Dragonlord Ojutai on turn 5, followed up with Azor, and then, oh, you've got a really good clock to put some pressure on your opponent. And the fact that Dragonlord Ojutai is a 5/4 body, that it has hexproof and it swings in when it deals combat damage, you're going to be able to look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one into your hand, getting that card advantage to get exactly what you need. Really good spell for the deck. Now, outside of the high impact creatures, you are running some good utility creatures in the deck. We've got Torrential Gearhulk and Snapcaster Mage. It's going to keep our graveyard on live with both of those creatures. And then Jace Finn's Prodigy is going to allow us to cast some spells out of the graveyard or flip it into something that's going to make our opponent want to deal with Jace. Also running Archangel of Thune and Taigam Ojutai Master. I had, Taigam was okay. I'd probably say that he's on the chopping block. We just don't necessarily have a ton of instant and sorcery spells that are maybe rebound worthy, so I'm probably going to swap it out by the time we, once I get it into the rotation for my channel. But Archangel of Thune, you get some good angels on the battlefield from Entreat the Angels. You start gaining some life off of Zor, getting those +1 counters. Oh, some good fun magic right there. Now, outside of the creatures, we are in blue-white, which is going to give us access to some really good universal removal. We have Oblivion Ring, Detention Sphere, and Imprison in the Moon. This is going to be, let's say that we don't have a counterspell to counter something, or we have something like Negate, counter target non-creature spell, and they get a big creature down. This is going to keep our game plan pretty open. We can still get this down and exile whatever we need to get rid of. Outside of these spells, we're also running Return to Dust and Comeuppance. Return to Dust is going to be pretty much a 2-for-1 most of the time. We're going to go for it, exiling 2 of their mana rocks, which is going to allow us to stay ahead on mana. And then Comeuppance is kind of a little bit more of a, it may seem kind of weird in this particular deck, but it's a little bit more of a one-sided board wipe. Prevent all damage that be dealt to your planeswalkers you control this turn, and then it's going to deal that much damage to that creature. So it's going to allow us to get down Azor, and if they're swinging in with a really big board state, they're probably not going to be expecting a Comeuppance. We can go for that, or we can use it as a 4-mana counterspell, prevent damage to target planeswalker for trying to get towards an ultimate. So basically kind of keeps our game plan a little bit open on that one. Now, outside of these these universal removal spells, we are running the Personal Tutor synergy in here. I don't know what to call this. It's not necessarily a combo, but with Personal Tutor, search your library for a sorcery card, reveal it, and put it on top of your library. We're going to have 2 targets for this Personal Tutor. We can grab whatever we want, but for the most part, we have 2 targets that's going to allow us to push the game into our favor. We're going to have Entreat the Angels, which is going to allow us to tap out for a bunch of full 4 angel tokens onto the battlefield, and then Terminus is going to act as a pseudo board wipe for just simply 1 mana. So you've got Personal Tutor for 1 white mana with Terminus on top. You've got a 2 mana board wipe, pseudo board wipe, but you know what I mean. It will help you kind of turn the game into your favor. Now, outside of the Personal Tutor synergy, if you're running blue-white control, you definitely want to run some additional card draw in here. We've got Impulse, which is one of my favorite cards for Commander. We're running, hey, yo, dog, I heard you like Sphinx Rev. We got more Sphinx Rev for you, Sphinx Rev Commander. Yes, indeed, we've got it in here because we love drawing cards and gaining life. And we're also running Rhystic Study to put that tax on our opponent. If they don't want to play the Azor Law tax, then we'll just simply draw those cards and have some great time. Outside of that, Azor's Gateway and Frantic Search. Frantic Search is basically going to act as a free spell. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and up-tap up to 3 lands. With Ancient Tomb or some other sort of producing mana land, well, pretty much just Ancient Tomb in 1v1 Magic Online, I did use Frantic Search in one game to get down Azor pretty quick, so you can use it to your advantage to dig deeper and at the same time generate some extra mana for that following turn. Now that's going to wrap up the deck tech. That's going to be it. As far as the deck, I didn't want to get too crazy. I just wanted to build a blue-white control shell. So if you're thinking about building Azor and if you've built a different cool deck, hop in the comments, let me know. But I do have 3 gameplay videos up for you right now, so go be sure and head over and check them out. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.